All right, so welcome each one of you. Thanks so much for joining in today. We welcome you to this webinar hosted by the Coaches for You community. This is our 10th webinar, so really excited to have all of you with us. Um, just a few things before we begin. So this webinar presentation is going to last for about 30 minutes, which will be followed by a 15-minute Q&A. And we would request you to put your mics on mute, and if possible, even go off camera. That will help us prevent any bandwidth issues and any disturbance to the presenter while we're in the session. You will also be requested to fill up a brief feedback form at the end of the webinar, as it will be super important for us to gather your feedback so that we could better our offerings going forward. So as we are ready to situate ourselves, the topic for today's presentation is leading with emotional intelligence. And to take us through this is our very experienced coach, Vanita Chaudhary, who's based out of Bangalore. And I've already told each one of you to kind of write in where you're calling in from, what's your name, and what is it that you do in the chat box. That will help us understand each one of the demographics of the situation and will help Vanita going forward as well. So as I was saying, the topic for today's webinar is leading with emotional intelligence. And to navigate this for us is our experienced coach, Vanita Chaudhary, who's based out of Bangalore. So Vanita, if you're aware, is a coach. She's also a Genos EI certified master practitioner. She's also a MBSR. Now that's a mouthful. Mindfulness-based stress reduction practitioner. Wow. All right. Maybe Vanita can fill up a little more details on her intro as I hand over to her. So we all understand and we're all facing a lot of stress and challenge in the current scenario, and managing remote teams effectively and with emotional intelligence can be a key to many of our issues. So let's see what perspective Vanita shares with us today on this topic. And so without further ado, I will invite Vanita to take over from here and help us learn about this further. So over to you, Vanita.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you so very much for that quick and crisp introduction, and also the time that I need to keep in my mind. Uh, so firstly, if I'm from Bangalore, and if I have few more people from Bangalore, you know that Bangalore's really opened up. And so there can be little noises outside, and that's absolutely normal. And there are children playing, which for me, I feel it's no more a disturbance, it's a joy to see things are normal. So please excuse if there's slight noises popping in. Apologies, but do let me know if you want to repeat something, and I'm good to go, and you can just raise your hands up using the reaction boxes. So first of all, thank you so very much for spending your time in the evening to understand how can I lead myself and my team, or my clients, or my customers, or whomever I'm dealing with, or my coaches, um, in using emotional intelligence. So we're just going to give you a few tools and some techniques. But before that, we would love to tell a little bit about how our brain works in terms of EI. So today's content is completely given by Genos. So the full credit goes, and you'll see Genos in all my slides as well. So what are we going to look at? We are firstly going to look at how the neuroscience of emotions and leading a remote team in a rapidly changing and uncertain environment like COVID-19. And to be honestly telling, even after May 31st, we have no idea how our environment, our country, our economy, and community is going to look like. And that means I personally don't even know how to run now my company in the existing business model. Examine the challenges associated with leading a remote team, and explore range of tips, tools, and techniques to overcome these challenges. So this is what we're going to do. We're also going to have a little action plan that's going to help you personally to go through the next few months, which did for me, because I've been delivering this session for almost 2 months now. I've re-strategized my business model a bit. And for people who like follow me on my LinkedIn and Facebook, you can see a lot of new things emerging from there. And thanks to these little things that I keep following in my life with whatever learning. So firstly, the neuroscience of emotions. I'm just going to give you a little bit of understanding in a very simple manner. However, if you're more interested, I'm always happy to have a one-on-one chat and we can be connected. The science of emotion very clearly says that pleasant feelings help us broaden and build, whereas unpleasant feelings narrow and limit. And the reason why I use pleasant and unpleasant is because there is no good and there's no bad, because every feeling either drives us to productivity or unproductivity. Sometimes fear drives us to being more productive, creative, and innovative, whereas sometimes joy can bring us like loss of money or loss of stuff. And I can give you a quick example. In January this year, I was looking out for a good printer vendor, and also who's good in money, not charging us exorbitantly. And it so happened that I found this nice vendor in Mumbai who was literally charging one third of my existing printer in Bangalore was charging. And I was so excited that, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm going to save so much money that I had given him some work. And poor guy, he did send us the proof. But in my excitement of saving so much money, I actually didn't see the print and the proof well. And believe it or not, instead of Genos, it was printed Senos. And what a loss. I printed almost 5,000 copies. So this example really reminds me that sometimes excitement, happiness, and joy can also, bring unproductivity. So you need to understand that fear or uncertainty need not be always unproductive. It can also be leading into productivity. So that's the first lesson of understanding how emotion drives everything what we do. So our emotions drive the way we take our decisions, the way we behave, and definitely a huge impact on our productivity as well. So I'm sure all of you are aware of the iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg is what you see right on top, but there's a lot more deep down. Now, what I'm going to share with you is that because of this COVID and rapid change, deep uncertainty and loss of control, because now definitely we don't have that full control on us, because we don't even know what our government in our states or our community is going to propose. Now, keeping this in mind, what you see on top is typically your behaviors or reactions, what people give. But actually, deep down is an emotion which is driving that thing. So, what you need to keep in mind is that as a leader or as a coach or as a facilitator, when you're conversing or when you're presenting or when you're talking, and what you see from the other side could be the reactions, but deep down they can have something. For example, uncertainty always makes people do a lot of making assumptions. Assumptions are formed, and people like, I think, things are going to be bad. Now that's an assumption. Or I'm going to have tough time without any money, another assumption. Now that comes from deep uncertainty. Next one is when people are highly stressed, the reaction that you could see or the behavior is aggressiveness. When you're anxious, you get to be reactive. And when you're worried, you get to be more problem focused. And finally, when there's high, like deep fear inside, you see either you blame yourself, blame others, blame society. So on top, the red ones you see are all the behaviors that typically can see. And now you can connect those behaviors to the feelings, beneath. Now, what happens is, as an emotional intelligence coach, it's so much easier for me because I've been practicing this for years now, really years. And it happened to me as well. When I came back from Egypt from a Women Economic Forum, I got this mail from my client saying all your sessions are cancelled, and that's been like a big fatka of few lakhs. What do you do? So the first thing that I had was uncertainty. I already started making assumption. I told my husband, oh my God, looks like next 3 months is crazy. Next 3 months, I think I'm not going to be doing anything. I'm going to go mad. And he said, hey, hold on. I hear a lot of assumptions happening. How sure are you? That's the first question he asked me. And I'm like, oh yeah, correct. And then I put my coach cap and, had to do my self-coaching to come out of this. So please remember this always, that reactions, behaviors, words that you hear are only what's on the periphery. Deep down is the emotions people carry. On the other side, you can become agile and use agile leadership by looking at this. Every time you create a purpose in your conversation, you get a lot of engagement happening. And now that's something that I have been doing with my team members in my company, Every day we have this 9:30 morning call, and all we do is be focused for today. What is the purpose? What are the things we need to achieve for today? And we just focus on that. And hence, both me and my team members are all highly productive in getting our things done. And we are so, end of the day, happy when we look at our task done, that tick, 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 yo. And hence there's no time, first of all, to think of anything else. We are so highly productive, engaging with each other. The next is when you make someone feel valued. And every time you have this value, like we care for each other, and you see the behaviors that is stemming out as we looking out for each other and being there. So create a kind of value, make your employees feel, or your coachees, or your customers, clients feel valued. Sometimes it could be even by posting a simple statement in your social media or sending a WhatsApp message. What I personally do is I always leave voice notes, and I love voice notes on WhatsApp than typing, so that there's warmth in what people listen to. And then you have informed. The more you keep your people informed, there's more solution focused. Now, when I say informed, not that we know answers for everything, but definitely what we can look at is, with whatever 100% fact that we are very, very sure, keep your team informed about it. And when I say informed, it also means about the information that you want to gather, which is going to help your purpose and your goal that you have set for yourself and your company for this week, this month, or the next 2 months. So now I think the goal setting is also getting more narrowed for a few days and months, and no more even looking like for a year. Next is empowering. The more you empower, that is in coaching, that's our mantra, right? We ask instead of tell. So the more you ask, the more you leave an open question in the meeting or a conversation, you can see there's a lot of innovation happening. So the crux of these two slides is to tell you that every behavior is driven by an emotion. So you need to really start looking at how can you give that emotion to someone where they feel and start behaving and taking decisions in a better way. And that's the aspects of the leadership, the what and the how. Now, the what is easy because, we all are experienced, at least in this group, I know a lot of us who've been experienced in terms of dealing with people, managing people, working with people. And that what becomes very easy. Now, the question is how? How do I go about, having this agile leadership? How do I understand people's emotion, especially virtual? Like right now, to be very honest, I can only see the black screens because I know all of you have put your videos off, at least what I can see on my screen. And that means, how do I even know emotions of my people and what they are going through? So this is a constant question that we keep getting. So here's something that we are going to discuss for that. Firstly, let me introduce you to ladder of inference. And I'm sure that many of you in the room today are well acclimatized with this simple but most powerful framework. Now, for a lot of other people who might not know this, because I know some of my students have also logged into this call. So let me make it very simple by saying that a ladder of inferences is very micro ladder right in our brain. And trust me, we go through this ladder 1,000 times a day, not once or twice, but 1,000 times. I only wish it helped us reduce our weight, but nevertheless, what I mean is that it really drives what we do. So instead of me talking you through, I thought let me share with you a quick 2 minutes video, which gives you an understanding of what ladder of inference is all about. And thank you, Satyendra. Thank you that I can see you than the black screens. So thank you very much for that. And let me just share with you this quick video that can tell you what this means all about. So just give me a second to find out where this, just a second. Yeah. Okay, there you go. I got it. Super. So in this video, you will actually get to see what ladder of inference is and how it literally drives the way we think. And that can help when you are in virtual world, especially to coach and question and take it forward. So let me quickly share with you this little video and then move ahead.
By using a method called the ladder of inference. It's a system which was first developed by psychologist Chris Argyris way back in 1970 and popularised in Peter Senge's book, The Fifth Discipline. The ladder of inference is a way of describing how you move from a piece of data, such as a comment or something you have observed, through a series of mental processes to a conclusion. These processes can be visualised as rungs on a ladder. Starting at the bottom of the ladder, we identify facts and data. As we move up the ladder, we're selective with the data based on our beliefs and prior experience. We interpret what the data means and tend to apply our existing assumptions. We then draw conclusions based on the interpreted facts, which in turn become our developed beliefs. Finally, we take actions that seem right because they are based on what we believe. This is dangerous as it can lead us to ignore the true facts altogether. Soon we're jumping to conclusions by missing facts and skipping steps in the reasoning process. This can all happen in milliseconds. By using the ladder of inference, you can learn to get back to the facts by remaining objective using System 2 thinking. The first thing to do when making a decision is to identify where on the ladder you are. Are you selecting your data, interpreting what it means, making or testing assumptions, forming conclusions, or deciding what to do and why? From your current rung, analyse your reasoning by working back down the ladder. This will help you trace the facts and reality that you are actually working with. There are 4 simple skills you can learn to stop you racing up the ladder. Number 1, make your thinking process visible to others by explaining your assumptions, interpretations, and conclusions. Number 2, invite others to test your assumptions and conclusions. Number 3, use respectful inquiry to help others make their thought processes visible. Use open and non-judgmental questions. Number 4, explore impasses and don't agree to disagree too soon. This helps avoid hidden or unspoken assumptions and conclusions. By understanding and practicing this method, you will quickly become an effective decision maker. There's something...
Okay. And that was about to tell you what is this in a very quick way, because I thought then we speak, it can go longer and I can make it so much easier by just showing that video. And rightly said that, right? Ask yourself currently in this COVID-19 situation, what are some of the ladder of inference thoughts coming into your head? What have you heard? What have you made? And if it's okay that we can have few on the chat boxes, please. I would love to know what thoughts are running in your head in ladder of inference while I share my slide back. Okay, now the thing is that, as we climb the ladder, we don't stop there. We also come back. And that means that, we then start doing a lot of things based on that. So let me give you a simple example. I walk into an office and I see a group of finance people or accountants sitting. So I observe and I collect the data that all the accountants and finance people need a lot of papers. They're very busy and they're very serious. And then I add meaning to that, saying that, oh my God, they're very serious people. And I make assumption that serious people can be boring and I don't think they will understand emotions. I draw a conclusion that every time I speak to accountant or a finance guy, I think I should just stick to the number, not talk about any emotions or not speak anything at all. Just stick, and I think I should not spend too much time. They can be a little boring. And next time when I get into a party and I see an accountant or finance guy, I will already run away saying, not a good person to talk to. Now imagine it can be absolutely untrue. And hence asking ourselves, how does this work? So ways to use a ladder of inference, especially in uncertainty like this, we climb ladders, like I said, 1,000 times. What you can do is help yourself, ask yourself what ladders are you climbing, and also please ensure to ask your other people whom you're interacting. It could be family, friends, colleagues, coaches, anyone. Explain your thinking and assumptions and listen with intent to understand. And take a coaching approach for all your conversation. That is asking question instead of advising or telling or giving them some ideas. It's always good to ask them. And always look for opportunities to offer clarity and seek clarity and certainty. May I request all of you on the call, if it's okay for you to take a picture of these questions, because these questions personally have helped me. And let me tell you, in this COVID situation of last 2 months, I actually launched a new company. Okay, and trust me, and that I owe it to one. I keep doing these webinars. So every time I'm doing it, I'm also asking myself and I'm penning down my thoughts. And believe it or not, I've actually opened another company which is going to focus completely on children, on emotional intelligence, gratitude, and mindfulness. And it's so beautiful that, there's nothing, no dread for opportunities if we really put our heads to it. And these questions, you can do self-coaching or you can coach others in checking their assumptions. So that is the first part which I want to deal with. The next one I'm going to deal with is a very, very simple framework. And if it is okay, may I request you to have your paper and pen with you? And I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Just have a paper, pen. Even the technology driven people who use tablet, I know how much you love it. Have it, no problem. I'm a very traditional pen paper, so you can see right here. Always in the hand. So up to you. Can I give you 10 seconds? I might go 10 minutes more. I hope it's okay, but trust me, any questions, I will stay back to answer any of that. No worry about it. And I also have a request is that you don't have to take pictures of anything and you don't have to even write down notes, because after the call, Anu will share a link where you can download a document, a PDF document, which has everything that you need from this session. So all I need is your complete attention, except for this activity that I would love you all to do with me. Now, as human beings, we all need two parts. One is need for control, either high or low, and need to affiliate with people high or low. Like some of us, even living with 10 people can be alone and like our, loneliness. Whereas some people, even when they are alone, they feel like they're with 10 people. So let's explore how do we communicate differently with different people, especially in virtual world. So what I would request you to do is draw a cross, and you don't have to name the numbers like how I have done here, 0 to 10, but you can just write 0 in center and 10 on all four sides. A high need for control is right on top, obviously low need for control, then low need for affiliation and high need for affiliation. If you could just draw this one, and the reason why I'm asking is that I am going to ask you to sort of mark yourself here. So that's why. Okay. If you have done this, then what I want you to do is keep your pen right in center here near 0, because always we begin with there. And the first question you would want to ask is, in any situation, it could be as simple as, can you please get me a glass of water? Now, do you need to ask more questions, or are you the person who say, okay, I'll go get the water? If you are the person who will just go get the water, then put your arrow going up the red side. If you are a person who will say, why is she asking me to get water? What kind of water? How much water? Warm, cold, sweet, sour, sweet, anything, whatever, all that, then please come down. All right. So go up and down that way. For example, me, to be very honest, I think even before the statement gets completed, I would have jumped on to get the water. So I'm right up here at 8. Yeah. So I'm just seeing if I can annotate and tell you. It's right here. And then look at the affiliation. I definitely, not a very high affiliation for people. So I'll put myself at 6 or somewhere at 5. I'm okay with both. I can work alone, be alone. So my thing would come somewhere here in between, right on top. Something like this. Okay. So you can put yours and put a mark there. And the reason why we do is, I still remember while I was growing up, I've always been told that treat people the way you want to be treated. And I'm sure, and I bet my life, people in the call today would have heard the same, either in your family or your religious community or in your office or anywhere in schools. Treat people like how you want to be treated. 3 years back, I was attending a global conference on leadership in US, and the speaker there said, bullshit, crap, chuck it. He said, treat people how you want to be treated as crap. He says, treat people how they want to be treated. period. Treat people how they want to be treated, period. And what do you understand by this? That even a simple communication, it's not how I want to communicate anymore. It is how I want my other person to understand my communication is the key. So especially in a virtual world, it becomes all the more critical. Now, people who have high need for control and low need for affiliation of people, they come across self-confident, fast-paced, there's a sense of urgency, highly task-oriented, competitive and practical. Even in COVID, they will ensure they get their job done. You just have to give them the task and be rest assured they will get it done. Now, when you're talking to these kind of people, one simple mantra: talk less, be crisp to the point, and just say what you want them to do. Just keep this mantra. People who have high need for control, low affiliation for people, talk less, be crisp, like headlines. They love headlines. They can't get into details. On the other side, high control, but however, they love association with people, affiliation for people. Now, these people are technically talkative, enthusiastic, very persuasive, very people-oriented, animated, and emotional. I think by now there is no guesses where I land. If you're looking at me and my face, by now you would know I definitely come here. Now, how do you communicate with me? I love to explore ideas. So every time you're talking to me, you say, so what do you think, Vanita? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? These are my go-to mantra words. Any thoughts? Any ideas? And I say, yeah, let's talk about this. And I love when people ask me this, yeah. Balanced thoughts. We love regular meetings. We like, to work on new opportunities. Collaboration and teamwork is our mantra. So try to give, things which people can work, and where there is an opportunity for 2-3 people to communicate, that is the kind of environment you need to create for them. Next is people who have low need for control, but high affiliation for people. They love to work in team. Now, this group comes across as calm, supportive, reserved, agreeable, dependable, very procedural. The only mantra I would give for this is, first of all, speak slightly slower. Don't rush. And they would love to get detailed information and regular connect with them. So they love team orientation, regular feedbacks, timely feedback, support, guidance, reassurance, just reaching back saying, I'm there, just go ahead. I hope you had a good day. Don't worry, we're all into it. And their go-to word, what they love is WE. This is the big word that you can use for them. We are in, we are going to do. And they love that communication. The last one is, I say, people who love data after God. So they are low need for control, low need to be with people as well. Highly accurate, very serious, orderly, sensitive, cautious, and perfectionist. All they need is give them the data, give them the reason, give them the logic, give them the purpose. They're good to go. They love all the details in one shot. They don't like you giving headlines, right? So I hope now you understand the way you need to communicate. So what you need to do is, for these kind of people, have accuracy, check before you send a mail, clarity in your communication, logic and critical thinking, and evidences for why you're asking them to do what you want them to do. So the whole idea is to tell that we are going to have 4 types of people, but wherever you fall, for example, I fall here, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to only speak the way I want to speak. I'll have to keep changing and be more agile, keeping in mind how these emotions can be evoked. A simple example, I'll connect it where I started, right? I said, if you create emotions, your behavior is what you get to see. If I'm speaking to a person in red box, I can't give detail. The more I get into details, they are getting agitated, they're getting stressed, and the behavior is aggressive. So what I will do is, if I'm going to communicate to somebody in red box, it's going to be very headline-ish, saying that this is what I want you to do. How do you want to go about it? Is it okay? And if they want, they will come back to me. Whereas if I go to the blue box and give headline, I know I'm evoking emotions which are stronger, like agitation and stress, and they might not like this communication. So the key for leading virtually is 2 things. 1, your own ladder of inference. Second, please create emotions which can get you productive, and pleasant things happening virtually too. So all this, I will be sending it in the workbook today. So you can also take little time. And today is Friday. What a lovely thing. Saturday, Sunday, you can spend on action planning. And come Monday, you'll have a newer way of communicating virtually within yourself and with others as well. So that's it from my end. I'm now open for all questions if you have any.
All right. So that was a good one. Very, very practical, very, very well put, and very crisply put as well. So any questions, comments, feel free to write it in the chat box and I will convey them to. So there are people who said that looks like the disc. I was thinking the same, it's like disc. So what do you have to say on that, Vanita?
It is indeed. So, the formula looks similar, right? It is just that what you want to put on four sides, which makes the difference. For us, we created this for need for clarity, a need for affiliation with people and control. It can have definitely relevance because typically the framework becomes the basis. But here we were focusing more on the emotion and the control. But found out, it is indeed, and it looks very, very well like a disc as well. Yeah.
So
There's a question I can see.
Yeah. So any tips on handling fresh young employees?
Oh, how lucky you are. Firstly, let me tell you that fresh, young. Oh, these two words are the most needed today. So whoever you are, that's Yovini. Right?
Yovini, yeah.
Okay, Yovin. It's simple. Firstly, thank God you don't have as much experience as we do because it really sometimes tarnishes your thinking process. But here you go. Firstly, check out what kind of thoughts are emerging in your head. Find out the reason why these thoughts are coming. Remember, I told you to just take this picture of these questions. Now, these can help you ask yourself any point of time as to why these thoughts are coming and help yourself in moving in the right direction. Secondly, when you start, role modeling this, a lot of people actually get influenced to do the same. So you're not only being a fresh young, but you're also giving a very fresh young perspective to the conversations in your company or in whomever you're going to have a conversation on. Secondly, be always open. I think when you're open to listen, there's lots more you get than you talk. So the more you start listening from now on, trust me, you will have a fantastic, successful innings in your life. For anything else, you can be connected with us. We would love to do coaching. So yeah. And I think Coaches for You is now offering one-on-one free coaching as well. So I think you should really take big benefit of that and get coached by a fantastic set of coaches we have as mentors as well.
So I have another question by Mangai M. It says, how do you handle a frustrated employee? Coaching didn't help there.
I think you shouldn't even be coaching. All you have to do is have a conversation remember, frustration is the behavior, right? What is making them frustration? There's somewhere deep down certain emotions and we really don't know. The other day I was talking to my friend and, we were thinking that actually even anger is no more. I don't know whether we should even consider that as an emotion. For me, it's an outburst. Anger is an outburst for need for security, need to listen, feeling wanted. We don't know. And hence, sometimes it's very, very interesting that even before we give thoughts to someone or coach, my first request to you is, can you please find out what emotions they are going through? So you can do a quick check-in. Yeah, so please do whole loads of check-in even during that conversation. Check-in for me is very simple. I have a feeling that you're feeling agitated or frustrated. Can we talk a little bit about it? What's happening? It could be even that small thing that I can do.
So there's another question I see, Vanita, which is, how do you minimize negative assumptions during critical situations?
Ladder of inference straight away. The first question that I put for you here, what data have I chosen and why? And to be very honest with you, so I'm not the best person to tell you this because I don't have TV. I don't have any connection in my house, nor do I get newspaper. And I'm a very poor person on phone, and Anu knows that very well. I hardly check phones as well. So one is, I'm away from all negativity and negative thoughts or negative news is going around, to be very honest. And I'm also very choosy in wanting to know what I want to know. So it's not that I'm outdated. I don't know what's happening across the globe. I am very much aware of what is essential for my business, for my, how I can help people, but I only restrict to that. One of the big good question you need to ask is, where am I getting these thoughts from? Where is the basis for these thoughts? And how am I going? So this slide I've put for you, if you can take a picture and do your own self-coaching today and answer it. And one of the powerful methodology which I do is actually writing down. So, when I came back from March and I told you I had a tough time when everything got cancelled, you can see the kind of notes I have written down, answering all these questions. And that really helped me, go ahead in a very positive way. So questions, answer. And you can also ask someone else to maybe ask you these questions.
So I guess I'll kind of, a second part of the question could be, and that's invariably it happens when you are in a critical situation and when you are making assumptions. How do you catch yourself from making negative or non-resourceful assumptions? Because many times when you're in the flow, you don't know whether it's serving me or not serving me. You're just making assumptions and drawing conclusions. So how do you catch yourself from that? What is the pivot points that you could recommend people put?
Brilliant question, Anu. For me, it's easy because I'm highly self-aware, and that's the first step of emotional intelligence. Like, at any point of time, I know how I'm feeling, and for me, that's super critical because I know every emotion drives what I decide, what I do, and how I engage. So that's why I said I do 10,001 times check-in at home with me and with my family and other members. Is, how are you feeling? Keep asking this question constantly and be honest. And be honest. Like, for example, if I am feeling this, that's the next basis of, because that pause drives in the thought, because otherwise we are regularly continuously thinking, doing, talking. So when you take a pause and ask that question, how am I feeling? I mean, you can even take a pause of 3 seconds, and that is a good ideal way to move to the next one, to say, what is it that I am thinking? Why is this thoughts coming? So pause is a very brilliant and powerful tool that I continuously keep using.
So another question from Vasu says, what's the mantra acting to others' emotions?
Sorry, Anu?
She says, what's acting to others' emotions?
What is the mantra?
Mantra for adapting to others' emotions.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to get what you want. Is it okay? You can unmute and ask me,
Yes,
make
Vasu,
me understand, please.
And maybe if you are done with the slides, maybe you could get off the slide share.
Yeah, I'm done. If anybody else wants this question, because this is not part of the PDF I'm going to send you. So if it'll ask, if you want to take it, you can. Otherwise,
so I guess take a screenshot of this question, and then maybe we could have a more interactive session. People can come.
Yeah, I agree with you with the videos on, please.
Yeah. Can come with the videos on and they can answer questions directly.
All right, okay.
So Vasu, could you come in and explain that question a little better to Vanita?
Yeah, so Vanita, you said you need to treat people how they want to be treated, right? So that's an adaptation. So my question is, what's your mantra to identify those people and how would you adapt? Is there a technique you use, a methodology you use?
Sure. So Vasu, I think while I was walking through itself, I gave you little mantras which work for me. And because one, I think I've been using all these consciously. And one of the things is I'm also highly observant as a person. It's very easy when you actually have these things. For example, if you see the pace of my conversation vis-a-vis pace of yours, fast, medium pace. And the moment I know how you talk, I need to now not talk fast. First of all, reduce my pace a little bit in matching yours. And that is the first indication. And like I said, this is not like kind of a people reading magic skills. It is just that you're trying your best to adapt and give them the best. We can be wrong in the journey, but we all learn. And the more you observe people, you really can get, like the example I told you about, high affiliation for people and low need for control. The biggest, I mean, the word they love is WE. So in the conversation, when I was a manager in a foreign bank, I had two employees like this, and all I had to say was, "This is for the team. If you do this, we are going to be super successful, and we will get accolade and all the we, and the job gets done." So one of the things you need to look at is high need for control and affiliation for people, or even if you want to use DISC, you can, and have those little mantras that will help you.
Excellent. Any other questions? Anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask the question directly to Vanitha?
And I also see Ashok asking, where would your boring accountant fit in?
Yes.
First of all, my sincere apologies for any accountant and finance people in the call. Trust me, that was not what I meant. My own younger brother is an accountant, by profession, and he's a number guy. What I meant to say, and trust me, he's the most jovial, and he's born with wit in his body all over. So that kind of a witty person. What I meant was is the assumptions people typically make. Yeah. And in the need for control and high affiliation for people, we cannot put accountant as a profession in any one of the boxes. It's individual. I see sometimes accountants in red box. I see them in blue. I also see them in purple, and I also see them in orange. So there's no rule that every profession gets into a box. We are not boxing anyone.
I think then the next question that comes to my mind, Vanitha, is that if that's the case, then how do we start understanding who is going to be fitting in which box, and how do I then flex my style to be able to respond to them appropriately? So what are the reading methodologies that I could have to be able to place people, not labeling them, yes, but you're placing them in one of those four boxes, and then I'm expected to respond to them in the way that they would want to be, spoken to. So how do you get into the first bit of recognizing where they should be or where they are?
The pace of talk.
Okay.
Even if you would have noticed my face now while you were talking, I was like dying to tell you, yeah, okay, I get it now. Okay, now let me answer. So that clearly tells you that when people are high pace, like fast pace, and even the body language, when you're talking to them, they'll be like, now, okay, now I get it now. Let me tell you, you know that they come in orange and red on top. And if they're not, then they come in blue and purple down. When there is orange and red, the other thing that you can look for is the affiliation for people. Like when people say, yeah, I get it, like it'll be done, they are red. So look out for the words. I think the first thing you can look out for is the pace in which people talk, and nod their heads at the body language. That's a straight away indication for you to know the boxes and what you need to talk.
Okay, interesting. Any other questions? Any other questions that you have? Or we could quickly do a wrap up. Any questions? Going one, going two.
This is Ryan Barreto raising his hand.
Hey, buddy.
How are you?
Awesome, dude. How's you?
Good. Thanks a lot.
You have a question. Come on.
Question, no, more of a statement. Relating a lot of what has been said today with something which I do. As you can see, I wear glasses, so my sight is not the best in the world. The number's pretty high. I've found that I'm able to pick up on people's emotions and states, rather. States also is like a stretch, but I'm able to pick up from people's tones faster than the visual, and I get much faster insights on what they are actually intending to say or be just from the tone. So if you have any research or something like that which talks about something like this, I don't know. Just thought I'd ask.
So Ryan, if I heard you rightly, you're talking about the tone and the body language behavioral that you can pick up to box people on their behaviors.
More on the tone than body language.
Very much.
But
Very much. But also, you know, even before you box them, that's why I first showed you the iceberg emotion model. You can also check up, you know, what is making them talk that way. Because not that, you know, and especially in this situation, trust me, I think we need to be a little more of having tons of patience first to begin with. Second, with is also being very open-minded and not making assumptions. And honestly, making assumptions is crazy. So one is best thing is when you hear the tone, maybe you heard it that way. It was not, maybe that's the intention of the other person. So sometimes, you know, we might read more, if, especially if we know someone very well. So best is ask. And I always tell, you know, in assumption, it's best to ask than make an ass out of you and me.
oh, oh, thanks.
So what I'm going to do now is, I know we are already exceeded our time, so I'm going to launch the feedback poll, and I will request each and every one of you to respond to that. Here it goes. So please, it won't take you more than 4 or 5 seconds to respond to it, but each of these inputs become very, very important. And mind you, we do look at your feedback and act
Yeah.
upon it as well. Also, as we are closing the session, or we're about to close the session, I number one want to thank Vanita for this extremely engaging session. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being here and, you know, giving us some important nuggets of information. I would like to inform each and every one of you that you could log into our website, which is www.coachesforyou.in, and you can register for all our future events under the events tab. Our next webinar is going to be now on the 29th of May at 4 p.m. And this is going to be a finale for the May sessions. And it's going to be a power-packed panel discussion. And yours truly is also going to be part of the power panel. And we're also going to have a very good moderator. So I'm going to keep that a secret till you log into our website and register for this panel discussion. And if you haven't, please do it right away. You can also visit our Coaches for You website and have be part of the other exciting resources that we have. There are articles that you could read. There are stories that you could listen to. You could also get into free coaching pre bono. They're absolutely free. And one of the most experienced coaches are going to be coaching you absolutely free of cost. And in case you're a coach, please volunteer your services to be a volunteer coach. So there are lots more happening there, and stay tuned. And we will be absolutely delighted to have you with us in our next session as well.
Thank you, everyone, and have a blessed weekend with a lot of ideas brimming in your head, with ladders of inference and knowing people as well. So you can make it like a game in your own family. Look out for orange, red, purple, and blue.
Yes, and as promised, I am going to put the link that Vanita had shared with me in the chat box.
In the chat box, yes, yeah. Please download the PDF from there directly. And you can be in touch with us on our LinkedIn. Coaches for You keeps posting, so you can share your feedback, comments, or anything nicer, so more people can come into our sessions and get the benefit of such fantastic, you know, wise coaches we have. So yeah, social media really works. So you can give your thumbs up, you can give your feedback, you can connect and share. Coaches for You is the LinkedIn website as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are now on the LinkedIn. We are on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. So
lovely. There you go.
So I put in the link in the chat box. So please copy this or put it on your browser and make, make use of the wonderful resource Vanita has shared with us. And I see most of you have already completed the feedback form. So thank you so much. Thanks all of you. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself and see you back on our next webinar on the 29th. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.